The strange soup. The tin roof of Mama Adaeze's food stall rattled in the late afternoon breeze. The stall occupied a prime corner in Ojalegba Market, where the smell of frying palm oil mixed with exhaust fumes from Lagos traffic. Mama Adaeze Okafor stirred her massive pot with practiced confidence. At 67, her round frame moved efficiently, her navy wrapper tied firmly, yellow Ankara top stretched comfortably across her chest. The orange head tie sat perfectly on her salt and pepper hair. "One soup," Tun called out, collapsing onto a wooden bench. Mama Adaeze ladled soup into a bowl, rich red, glistening with palm oil, chunks of fish beneath the surface. Tun barely glanced before digging in, movements mechanical, driven by hunger. Then everything stopped. His hand froze. "This soup," he said slowly. "It tastes like my mother's." "Exactly. She died 3 years ago, and I thought I'd never taste this again." Mama Adaeze smiled, warm but inscrutable. "Eat well, my son." Tears ran down Tun's face as he ate. When he paid, he added extra money without a word. This happened every day, in different ways. But nobody noticed the pattern. Not yet. The first to truly notice was Emeka Nwosu, only because he'd been coming every single day for 3 years. Emeka was a stocky 45-year-old taxi driver with weathered skin and a square jaw. Gray showed at his temples, sadness settled in his eyes, the kind that comes after loss. He'd been coming since his wife left, since he stopped cooking for one. Emeka had realized something impossible. The soup never tasted the same twice. Some days peppery and fierce, making his eyes water. Other days mild and comforting. Sometimes celebration, sometimes simplicity, but always satisfying. He'd assumed Mama Adaeze changed recipes. But then he noticed other customers were having different experiences with the same pot. That evening, Emeka approached as she scrubbed her pot. "Mama, I have a question. The soup, it's different for everyone, isn't it?" "Actually different. For each person." Mama Adaeze was quiet, then asked, "What does the soup taste like to you?" "Like whatever I need. Some days hope, other days forgiveness, sometimes strength to face another day." "Then why ask questions? Some things just are. Not everything needs explaining." Chioma Okonkwo didn't believe in magic, miracle workers, or anything that couldn't be fact-checked with 3 reliable sources. At 31, the investigative journalist had built her reputation at Lagos Daily, exposing fake pastors claiming to cure cancer with holy water, corrupt politicians diverting funds, and elaborate scammers preying on desperate people. Her intense eyes and sharp instincts trusted her notebook more than most people. She'd come to Ojalegba Market following a lead on rice sellers, her black slacks and white shirt wilting in the humid heat. When lightheadedness hit, heat, hunger, low blood sugar, she needed food immediately. Mama Adaeze's stall was closest. Chioma dropped onto a bench, pulling out her notebook from habit. The soup looked ordinary, rich red stew with fish and ugu leaves floating in palm oil. Nothing special. She took a cautious first spoonful, still thinking about rice prices. The world tilted. The taste was impossible. Not good, not delicious. Those words were inadequate. It was her grandmother's egusi soup, the exact recipe that died with her 10 years ago when Chioma was in university. Not similar, not reminiscent. Exact. Down to the too much crayfish her grandmother insisted was good for brain power. The bitter leaf stirred in at the last moment. The specific ratio of palm oil to ground melon seeds perfected over 50 years, the particular smokiness from her grandmother's old stove. Chioma's hand trembled as she set down the spoon. She stared at the soup, then up at Mama Adaeze, who was serving another customer without glancing her way. "Excuse me," Chioma said, trying to sound professional despite the tremor in her voice. "This soup, what's in it?" "Exactly. Palm oil, pepper, meat, fish, vegetables. The usual things." Mama Adaeze's smile was pleasant but vague. "No, I mean specifically. The exact recipe." "Ah, every good cook has her secrets, my dear. That's what makes the soup special." And with that, she turned back to her pot, ending the conversation. Chioma ate the rest slowly, methodically, trying to deconstruct the components, understand the chemistry that could possibly recreate something so specific, so personal, so impossibly accurate. But the taste remained stubbornly perfect, stubbornly impossible. By the time she finished, her notebook was open with a single question written at the top. How? That question became an obsession. Chioma returned the next day with her camera. She ordered soup and watched Mama Adaeze's every movement, looking for sleight of hand, hidden compartments, anything that would explain the impossible. The soup that day tasted like ambition, sharp and energizing, filling her with electric certainty that she could crack this story. The third day, it tasted like childhood summers, sweet tomatoes on her grandmother's windowsill, lazy afternoons when time moved like honey. The fourth day, her mother's soup the night before Chioma left for university, filled with love and worry and bittersweet hope. Each day, impossibly different. Each day, her notebook filled with observations, questions, theories that crumbled under scrutiny. She started interviewing customers, making casual conversation she'd steer toward the soup. Ibrahim Muhammad, a construction worker who towered at 6 feet 1 inch with dust-streaked skin and exhausted eyes. Every day after work, he said, 3 jobs, construction, security, weekend labor. Sending 3 kids to school. The soup gives me exactly what I need. Some days strength. Some days just peace. A moment where I'm not tired. Different every day? Chioma asked. You're eating it, he pointed out. Don't you taste it? Mrs. Patience Obi, a secondary school teacher in burgundy and wire-rimmed glasses. It calms my nerves. I teach final year students. WAC exam preparation. The stress is considerable, but this soup centers me, makes me ready. And yes, it does taste different, sometimes spicier, sometimes milder. Sometimes it reminds me of childhood, but always exactly what I need. Amaka, a young mother with a baby strapped to her back. It tastes exactly like the soup from my wedding day. My husband's aunt made it, special Enugu family recipe she won't share. But whenever I eat Mama Adaeze's soup, I taste it. Exactly, like being back at my wedding, before everything got hard. Don't you think that's strange? Chioma pressed. That it tastes so specifically meaningful to you. Amaka shrugged. Maybe Mama Adaeze just has a gift. Does it matter? The soup makes me happy. But it mattered to Chioma. She documented times, weather, ingredients, the exact words Mama Adaeze said. She photographed the pot from every angle. After 47 interviews and hundreds of pages of notes, nothing made sense. Emeka found her one afternoon, furiously scribbling notes. His stocky frame settled onto the bench beside her. You're the journalist, he said, his graying temples catching the light. I've seen you here every day for 2 weeks. Always writing in that notebook. You're trying to figure out her secret. Aren't you curious? Chioma looked up. I was. Very curious. Spent about 6 months trying to understand it. Then I decided maybe some mysteries should stay mysteries. But the soup is different for everyone. Chioma insisted, her voice urgent. I've interviewed over 30 people now. Every single one describes something different. That's not possible. That's not how cooking works. How reality works. I know, Emeka said calmly. I noticed the same thing. The soup doesn't just taste different for each person. It tastes like what that person needs at that exact moment in their life. Like it's reading you somehow. Reading your heart, your memories, your needs. Like it knows you better than you know yourself. So is the soup, Emeka pointed out gently. But you keep coming back for it. We all do. Because I need to understand it. Or maybe, Emeka suggested, you just need the soup. And understanding it is how you give yourself permission to need it. That hit closer than Chioma wanted to admit. After 2 weeks of observation, 47 interviews, and hundreds of pages of notes that explained nothing, Chioma decided on a direct approach. She came late one evening, after the dinner rush had cleared and the market was settling into its nighttime rhythm. She wore a simple gray dress, leaving her camera behind, bringing only her notebook. The wooden benches were empty except for Mama Adaeze, who was cleaning by kerosene lamplight that cast dancing shadows. The 67-year-old woman had removed her head tie, her salt and pepper hair escaping in wispy curls around her temples. Her wrapper was splashed with water, her movements unhurried as she put things in order for tomorrow. Mama, Chioma said, her face set with determination. I need to talk to you. I thought journalists liked to watch from the shadows. Mama Adaeze didn't look up from scrubbing, but there was amusement in her voice. I want to write a story about your soup, but I need to understand it first. Chioma's eyes were earnest now, no longer calculating but vulnerable. How do you do it? Please. I've been coming here for 2 weeks, and I can't figure it out. I cook with good ingredients and a clean heart. Mama Adaeze remained focused on the pot. That's not an answer. Chioma's voice cracked with frustration. I've interviewed 47 of your customers. Every single one describes a different soup, not just different flavors, but deeply personal flavors, specific memories, exact recipes that should be impossible for you to know. That's not possible unless you're doing something extraordinary. Please, Mama, help me understand. I need to understand. Mama Adaeze finally looked at her, really looked at her. Those warm eyes seemed to see straight through flesh and bone to all her doubts and fears and desperate need to make sense of a world that kept refusing to make sense. You want to understand with your mind, Mama Adaeze said slowly. But some things can only be understood with the heart, child. Tell me, Chioma Okonkwo, why does a journalist who doesn't believe in anything she can't prove with 3 sources keep coming back to eat soup she can't explain? Because, Chioma stopped. Why did she keep coming back? Because it tastes true. Whatever it tastes like, however it changes, it always tastes completely, utterly true. And I don't know how to write about that. How to explain that. How to make people believe something I can barely believe myself. Truth is different for everyone, Mama Adaeze said gently. But that doesn't make it less true. My soup tastes the way it needs to taste. That's all. That's everything. But how? Chioma's voice was almost pleading. Please, Mama. There has to be an explanation. A method. Something I can document, verify, put into words that make sense. Mama Adaeze sighed deeply, the sound seeming to come from somewhere ancient and tired. She wiped her hands on her wrapper. Come back tomorrow. Very early, before I open. Before sunrise. I'll show you something. But I can't promise you'll like what you learn. Sometimes understanding costs more than ignorance. Chioma agreed immediately, her journalist instincts thrilling at the breakthrough. But walking away through the darkening market, she felt strange reluctance settling in her chest like a stone. Some part of her, deeper than rational thought, whispered that maybe Emeka was right. Maybe some mysteries were better left alone. Maybe some magic shouldn't be explained. She ignored that voice. She'd come too far to turn back now. The origin of the gift. Chioma arrived at 5:30 a.m. Mama Adaeze was already building her fire, her green and gold ankara bright in the pre-dawn dimness. She poured Chioma tea without a word, hot, sweet, spiced with ginger. My grandmother was a medicine woman, Mama Adaeze began. But she never used herbs or charms. Her medicine was understanding people. She could look at someone and know them, their joys, sorrows, fears, hopes. And she cooked for each person according to what she saw. Chioma reached for her notebook, but Mama Adaeze shook her head. Just listen. Some stories aren't for writing. She said food is language. One of the oldest. If you listen with your whole heart, you can speak to souls through what you feed them. She began preparing ingredients. That gift passed to my mother, then to me. So it's intuition, Chioma said. Deep intuition and skill. Is that what you taste in my soup? Chioma couldn't answer. No, it wasn't. When I cook, I don't think about recipes. I think about the people who will eat. I open myself to their needs. And the soup becomes what they need. But how? The soup holds all possibilities. Every memory of home, every comfort, every taste of love. When someone dips their spoon in, the soup shows them what they need. And your daughter? You were teaching her. Pain crossed Mama Adaeze's face. Yes, Ngozi. She would be 42 now, if she had lived. The price of the gift. Ngozi was 20, university student. So smart, so full of life. I started teaching her the gift at 18. But it has rules. You must protect your spirit while opening to others. The sun rose as she spoke. But Ngozi was too generous. She wanted to help everyone. She cooked for hundreds, trying to give each person what they needed. I warned her the gift requires balance. But she wouldn't listen. Her hands trembled. One afternoon, after 3 days cooking straight, barely sleeping or eating, she collapsed. The doctor said her heart just stopped. A healthy 20-year-old. Tears streamed down her face. But I knew. The gift had taken more than she could give. She'd poured out everything. After that, I swore I'd never teach anyone else. Better the gift dies with me. But you're still doing it every day. Because I can't cook any other way. And maybe I'm old enough now to know my limits. She handed Chioma a bowl. The soup tasted like grief and wonder mixed together. It knew, Chioma whispered. The soup always knows. That's the gift. And the burden. Over the next week, Chioma watched. She saw Mama Adaeze's eyes go distant, listening. But she also saw the toll. By day's end, Mama Adaeze would sway, breathing labored, gripping the pot to steady herself. Emeka pulled Chioma aside. It's getting worse. She's working herself to death. What can we do? I don't know. But we have to figure something out. The community solution. 3 days later, Emeka called. Mama Adaeze collapsed yesterday. She's at the stall but can barely stand. Chioma ran through the market. When she arrived, Mama Adaeze looked thinner, frilier, but still stirring her pot. You need to rest. You're making yourself sick. I need to cook. It's who I am. Not if it kills you. Chioma looked at the regulars, Tund, Ibrahim, Mrs. Obi, Amaka, all taking without understanding the cost. What if you didn't have to do this alone? Let me write a story. Not about the magic, but about community. 2 weeks later, Chioma's article ran. She wrote about cooking with attention and care, about how food can be medicine. Young chefs wanted to learn. Home cooks asked about feeding with intention. You can't learn my gift, Mama Adaeze told them. But you can learn to cook with intention, to pay attention to who you feed. She began morning classes, teaching techniques, but also how to center yourself, how to let care infuse every step. Something unexpected happened. While none developed her exact gift, many found their food became more meaningful. When I cook with intention, the food is different, one chef said. That's because you're speaking the language of food now, Mama Adaeze smiled. Meanwhile, Emeka organized a rotation. Tund helped with morning prep. Ibrahim carried heavy pots. Mrs. Obi organized schedules. Amaka washed dishes. Joseph kept the stall safe. Fatima helped serve. They couldn't cook the soup, but they could carry the physical burden. You're still doing too much, Chioma said, smiling. Less than before. It was true. Mama Adaeze had regained her glow. After Ngozi, I swore I'd never teach anyone. But maybe this is how the gift survives, broken into smaller pieces. Many people feeding others with care. Do you think Ngozi would approve? I think she'd be proud. Her death taught me about limits, balance, community. Today, Chioma's soup tasted like peace. Like home. Will you write the real story someday? Mama Adaeze asked. Maybe. When you're gone. Then I'll tell people there was once a woman who could cook soup that tasted different for everyone. And people will think it's just a beautiful story. But you'll know it was all true. I'll know. And that's enough. The sun set over Lagos. In her pot, the soup simmered, waiting. She was surrounded now by people who understood. Emeka, Chioma, Tund, Ibrahim, Mrs. Obi, Amaka, Joseph, Fatima. Building something that might outlast her gift. A community that understood the magic of feeding each other with intention and love. Maybe that was the real story. Not one woman with an impossible gift, but many people learning to give small gifts every day. Thank you for trusting me, Chioma said. Thank you for protecting the truth. You could have made us famous. Instead, you made something better. You made a community. We made a community. All of us together. Yes, that's the real magic, isn't it? The magic we make when we take care of each other. The soup steamed, rich and perfect, holding all possibilities, ready to speak its truth to whoever needed to hear it next. Thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more African real stories from Ace and 5 Chronicles.